a crazy time in our country to be attending an AI masterclass. I hope you guys are safe wherever you are. I really do. We are based out of Bangalore. We're absolutely safe over here, but I wish the same for you guys as well. That being said, thank you so much for joining us. It's a Friday, it's a Saturday evening. Some of you might have plans to go somewhere later. So this masterclass is going to last exactly about 90 to 100 minutes, right? That's basically what the duration of this masterclass is. Without wasting any more time, let's straight away get into it. All right, can you guys see my screen? Can you guys see my screen? Yes, 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 yes. It's raining yeses. Love it. Love the enthusiasm. Let's go. All right, before we actually start, I would actually like to know how many of you are either a founder or a senior executive at a company. This also involves middle management. If you are, can you just tell me what company you work at or what role you work at and what the domain is in the chat quickly? All right, upper management, CEO at SOLV Africa, founder at a creative studio, real estate growth manager, ad ops, data analyst, fintech, chief of staff, Lenskart, AI and ML engineer, design studio, founder office role, COO at Evren, founder at Sabr Media, which is a media agency, okay. Co-founder at EdTech, media and production, transport consultancy, strategy head at influencer marketing. Man, there are so many messages, so I'm just going to quickly scroll and talk about what, call out people that catches my eye. CMO AirAsia. Hey, Ravi, what's up, man? Good to have you here. Founder at crypto startup, head of marketing at SaaS firm. All right, nice. Quite a lot of you. Interesting. Love it. Awesome, guys. I'll quickly introduce myself and we'll straight away get into the session. Thank you for making the chat rain. My name is Sridev. I'm the CEO and co-founder here at 100x Engineers. You've obviously seen me on the Instagram page and a bunch of YouTube videos as well. If you're from the cohort, you know me a lot more. I've had more than a decade of experience in the content and marketing space. That's where my background comes, and I've always been dabbling in tech. And since the last 3 to 4 years, I've been dabbling in the space of marketing content video, amalgamating that with AI. That's where primarily my experience comes from. I've been in the startup ecosystem for about a decade. So I've worked at tech companies, usually in like core teams before I actually decided to start 100x. I've also developed a curriculum for a course that Meta has launched. If you guys are curious, you guys can actually go and take this. It's absolutely free. You can just go to Google and type Meta Blueprint Introduction to AI for Marketers, and you'll basically come across this course. So I've designed this course, and I am the primary instructor in this course. So feel free to actually do it. We don't really talk about this course anywhere. We haven't marketed it, which is probably why a lot of you haven't really heard it. That's about me. Today, we're going to talk about 2 things primarily, okay? We're going to be joined by Varun, Mayya in about 30-ish minutes. But until then, I want to set some context. I want to set some background about what we're going to talk about so that you guys are well prepped in order to understand what Varun's talking about, right? So just so that you can understand these second order effects, just so that you can understand these abstractions, I want to set some context about a bunch of stuff that we'll be talking about, and then we'll have Varun come in and we'll do like a quick chit chat with Varun, and we'll take some of your questions and then we'll move on. Yeah? Awesome. All right. Cool. I want to address one question before I officially start. We are recording the session for internal purposes, but I don't think we will be sharing access to the recording of this session to anyone. So if you guys are here in order to get whatever knowledge and whatever insights you can, I'd highly recommend you actually write notes. This is something that we've been doing recently here at 100x in order to promote high engagement among the audience, because sometimes when you know that you'll get the recording, you might not pay as much as attention, and then you might just forget to watch the recording. So just pay attention. I think you'll get everything you need. Okay. We have two primary questions that we want to talk about, okay? And this is for both founders as well as senior execs. The first question is more relevant for senior execs who are already working at a company, who are at a certain position where they can make critical decisions, and you want to understand how your company can actually become more AI native. When I say AI native, I mean that you must have heard a lot of companies doing downsizing. You must have heard about a lot of companies adopting AI and becoming like 10x more productive, and their costs have gone down, etc. Right? So first, I want to talk about what is like a simplistic way of looking at it, how to approach that problem, and how to even begin doing that in your teams. Number two is more relevant for founders. It's also relevant for product managers. It's about building with AI. If you want to build something with AI, be it as a side project, as an experiment, or as a full-fledged startup, what exactly should you do? Right? Because the common fear over here is there's going to be a company that you'll build, and then tomorrow an OpenAI or a Google will actually come up with this revolutionary feature that's going to kill your company. So how do you really go about thinking about product building in the AI space? I want to address these two things. And once I've set the background for both of these, we'll have Varun come in and we'll have a chit chat with him. Okay, let's head straight on into question number one. How do you really become AI native? In my opinion, there are two primary steps over here. Number one is immersion. Number two is adoption. Okay. And these sound like very complicated terms, but I'll just demystify it and I'll break it down for you guys in very simple language. What I mean by immersion is to just get exposed to the multiple options that are available out there. Right? Just immerse yourself in whatever domain you are in and think about where AI can actually come into play. Like, for example, if I was a marketer, I would go and explore what are the marketing tools available that AI can actually make my marketing flows faster, right? Is there something that I can use in order to get my creative outputs faster? Is there something that I can do in order to automate my content pipeline? Is there something that I can do in order to make my ad pipeline go faster? Is there something that I can do in order to mass generate SEO articles faster? You know, that's basically what immersion is about. And it's about going out there, exploring multiple tools, trying these things hands-on, and actually figuring out what the limitations of these models are. A lot of times when you try models, like, a lot of times when you try models, like let's say, for example, GPT-4o was very revolutionary in terms of images. Why? The primary reason was that it could, there were two reasons. Number one was it could get extremely good text on the image itself, which a lot of models previously couldn't do. And number two, the prompt adherence was really high. What I mean by this is usually when you type something for an image model, you don't really get exactly what you want. With GPT-4o, you could get exactly what you want, right? The prompt adherence is very high. Whatever you type, the input, the model adheres to the prompt, right? So this is one of the biggest things that sort of came out in the marketing space. So if I was a marketer, I would actually go out there, I would try it, and I would see where the model really breaks. Like, how far can I really stretch the model? Where is when the model really starts giving me a bad output, right? And that is something that is very connected to this whole process of immersion, where you just go out there, you try multiple tools, you see what the limitations are, so that you have an understanding of what an AI model can do and what it cannot do. Because if you don't understand the limitations of what these models can and cannot do, you won't be able to come up with solutions on where you can integrate it within your pipeline. So the number one step is you yourself have to go out there, try these models, get your hands dirty, really understand what the limitations of these models are so that you have an intuitive understanding of what these models can do, right? And especially if you're someone in like mid-level to senior level management, this is not something that you can, hire someone for and you can delegate, etc. Because this is I don't think there's anyone other than you who can truly understand what your team does and what your team is really working on, right? You know all the nitty-gritties, you know all the inner workings, you know how the chain of command goes, you know how the work goes from one person to the other team, etc., etc. So you're the only person who can really judge where you can actually use an AI native workflow so that you can later on figure out something like that and replace it. So it's very important for you to truly understand how these models work and where you can actually use them. Okay, that's basically number one, which is immersion. An example that I can give over here at 100x is before, the research and scripting process used to take us about 60 minutes. So we produce like almost 2 reels a day on Instagram. The shoot took us about 30 minutes. This includes setup time for, all the lighting and stuff like that as well. And the edit took roughly about 5 hours, right? Today, we get out content pretty fast. So the research and scripting takes us 20 minutes. This is because we have a model that has been sort of automated to do the research and the scripting process. We don't really spend as much time in doing that. Most of the time goes in reviewing these scripts and correcting it for tone, correcting it for fact, doing the fact check, etc. Right? So we've been able to sort of automate that process. We don't shoot at all, at least 90% of the time. What you see on the page is an avatar of me. It is something that we have created. We've sort of worked on it for a while, and right now it looks pretty perfect, right? And finally, the edit takes 2 hours. Why is editing sort of reduced over here? It's not because there's been some sort of revolutionary editing tool that's come out that's AI enabled. It's mainly because while editing, a lot of time that is spent by the editors is to look for footages, right? Let's say that I'm talking about something that's happened in robotics. Now, when I'm talking, my editors need to find B-rolls, right? B-rolls are basically the videos that you see playing in the background while I'm talking in order to explain something better. Now, a lot of people in my team used to take a lot of time in order to look for these B-rolls from, stock video websites like Envato, etc. But right now, when they can't find the footage for something, they just generate it. They write a prompt on a video model like Runway or something like that, and they basically generate it. So the time that is taken in order to look for those footages is basically reduced down. So something that actually took us about 6.5 hours is right now reduced to about 2.5 hours. That's a huge jump in terms of productivity, right? Now, the thing is, the only way that I would get to know about a productivity hack like this is if I was directly involved in the process, right? Earlier, I was involved in everything. I was involved in the research, I was involved in the shooting, and I used to give a regular amount of feedback to my editor. So I knew what the whole pipeline really looked like, which is why it was possible for me to figure out that, okay, these are the multiple parts in my pipeline. Which are the parts that I can really automate and which are the tools that I can use to automate it, right? So it's really important for you to really understand that domain well, understand what the workflow really looks like within your team so that you can identify these problems and then you can fix it later on. The second part of this basically comes to adoption, right? We're talking about how you can make your team more AI native. So let's say that once you've done the immersion part and you've gathered all this knowledge about the multiple tools that are available out there. Let's say that you're from law, right? There is a lot of rote work that is involved in the life of a lawyer. And I'm sure that you've already thought that, hey, there are some parts that I can sort of identify and figure out where to replace, where I can bring AI in the process. Now, how do you really get your team to actually do it? And this is the tricky part, because one of the biggest problems that I have seen a lot of people talk about at companies is the adoption part, right? It's like, hey, I want my entire team to be AI enabled. So how do I do it, right? The thing is, we get a lot of requests from a lot of companies where they say that, hey, can you come do a workshop for us? Can you come do like a 2-day session for my team so that they understand how you guys use AI and how we can actually use it? And sometimes we take those offers up and we actually invite them over to our office, or sometimes we go to their office and we actually do these sessions for them. But the thing is, there is always one lingering question that is left in the mind of the founders or the senior execs who actually call us to do these sessions. They're like, cool, you've done these sessions. Now, how do you really ensure that these people are actually using it? Because let's say that we do a session for like 100 people. Probably 20 to 30 of them might end up actually carrying it forward and making something out of it. The rest 60, 70 people are probably just going to have fun in the session and they're probably just going to forget about it. So this is one of the trickiest problems that we've come across. And the solution that we have found is this is something that you can't outsource, right? You can't just hire someone and be like, hey, make my team AI native, and they just come and do a bunch of sessions and they go and it works out. That never happens. It needs to happen internally within the team from the top down, right? It needs to come from within the company. The people who care the most about the company are already within the company. So it needs to sort of come from them. So it needs to be a CEO or a CXO or someone who's in the upper middle management to really sort of inculcate this culture of wanting to be AI native, right? That is one of the biggest reasons why I feel the people who would really benefit the most out of learning AI besides, developers who can wipe code and stuff like that are people who are in senior management level or senior executives. Because these are the people who truly have the power and the decision-making capability in order to inculcate a culture of being AI first at a company top down. And it always happens top down, right? If you are someone who runs a company, if you are a founder, if you are someone who has been in senior management, you know without a shred of doubt that culture flows top down. Whatever happens at the top, people at the bottom follow, right? It's as simple as that. The same thing applies for being AI native as well, right? If you yourself are not doing this in a hands-on way and you yourself don't have an apt amount of knowledge on how you can actually do this within your company, this is not something that is going to trickle down in your company. That's pretty much like the simple and straightforward way of putting at it. So you have to be the leader who's actually taking the initiative in order to immerse yourself, in order to really learn about what the limitations are, what the different kinds of models are, try it out hands-on, and then sort of figure out and identify problems within your company and start solving them, right? You have to be the enabler of that change within your company, as corny as that sounds. So in a way, a lot of senior management folks and founders must become AI generalists, right? This does not mean that you try to automate every process with AI. This means that wherever you can and wherever you think it makes sense, you basically automate it. I think a large portion of sales can be automated using AI right now. I think a large portion of customer experience and customer service can be automated using AI right now in a very meaningful way, not in a way where you just go tell people that, hey, by the way, do you know that our customer service is automated? No. I'm talking about it in a very meaningful, serious way that actually helps you achieve your business goals, makes your customer also feel like they're heard, etc. So it basically must come from the top down, and everyone at the top must become this sort of a jack of all trades who use multiple AI tools, and they sort of attempt to teach their team how to use these tools, right? One of the biggest reasons why I feel this is more important for people at the top is because of the fact that I don't think there's no one in your team who's working with you who understands your domain better than you do, right? When you are a senior executive, when you're in the upper management, you see things from a different perspective, right? You have a bird's eye view of how all the teams are working, how all the people in your team are working. So you know a lot of information that other people don't, right? You are kind of like an aggregator of information. Every node is basically connected to you, right? So you have a bird's eye view of how everything is going, and that along with your domain expertise gives you the best vantage point in order to actually start applying this within your teams. So honestly, it's the position that you occupy that kind of enables you to be the best person in order to spread this culture within your team. Okay, before I move ahead, I wanna make sure if everybody has sort of understood this whole concept of immersion and adoption. Yeah, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Yeah. So far, so good. So far, so clear. All right, awesome. Cool. I'll just repeat them in one line. Immersion is basically understanding the limitations of AI, getting hands-on with the multiple tools and workflows that are available out there. And adoption is getting your team to do it. And the only way to do it is if you yourself become that enabler of change within your company, right? So those are basically 2 points that I wanted to talk about becoming AI native. Okay, I'm just setting context over here so that whatever conversation we have with Varun in about the next 10, 15 minutes becomes easier for you guys. So just understand these basic terminologies and these basic ideas, okay? All right, cool. Let's get to the second point of what we're going to talk about today, okay? Actually, wait, before that, I want to talk about what is the way that you can actually get started. This is something that I roughly covered before, but I just want to repeat it. The number one step is basically to evaluate what's really happening. This is basically where you identify where the problems are, right? So, for example, in my case, I was making content on Instagram, and I wanted to automate a certain part of my workflow, right? So what I did was I figured out, okay, these are the processes in my content making process. There's research and scripting, there's the shooting, and there's the actual editing and post-production and stuff like that, right? And I did this for a bunch of other domains as well, right? For example, over here at 100x, we have a bunch of stuff that we actually automate using AI and not just the content part of the process. So we basically sat down, figured out that which are the parts that actually exist and where can an AI bot actually come in. In fact, we have a 6-month applied AI cohort. In the cohort, we've been developing a teaching bot that is trained on a lot of the lectures that we have. It's been trained on the transcripts of the lectures that we have so that students can actually use it in order to ask questions and stuff. Our mentors and we are not available all the time 24/7. So we need like a bot that actually answers questions. So we figured out that, hey, why can't we automate this part of the process so that the workload actually reduces for us, right? If the bot can solve it, time saved for all of us, right? So the first step is to evaluate where it can actually happen. Usually, the places where an AI workflow can help is areas where there is rote work, where there is a repetition of the same thing over and over and over again. And that is usually where you can actually apply generative AI. Then after that comes the actual automating part. And finally, once you've gotten a working model of this entire workflow, you just work on fine-tuning it, right? You can fine-tune the models, mainly the models, that's what you're fine-tuning. So for example, right now, we have a scripting model that has been trained on about 300 to 400 scripts that I had written over the last 2 years. So the model knows exactly how I write. It's already been trained with my data, and I keep refreshing it with new data every time I write a new script, right? So this is a fine-tuned model we've created for ourselves over here at 100x in order to automate the scripting process. What is that going to be for you, right? Is it going to be, you can train a model on multiple customer query data so that the model knows how to answer customers before, right? You can teach it what is a good answer, what is not a good answer. So a quick guide to basically get you started on how to really get going on becoming AI native. Evaluate, identify the rote areas of work, automate, and finally fine-tune. Cool. Now we come to the second part of what we're going to talk about today. All right. This is more relevant for people who want to build AI products as a side project or someone who wants to start a company, right? When it comes to building AI products from scratch, I don't think you should start building from scratch at all, right? I think you should start building from something that already exists. I'll give you a bunch of examples, okay? You guys obviously have heard of Cursor. OpenAI just, acquired Cursor for $3 billion. Sorry, OpenAI acquired Windsurf, not Cursor, my bad. But Cursor is a very similar tool like Windsurf. It's basically a vibe coding assistant. It basically helps you complete your code. It's an AI coding assistant, right? What Cursor did is very interesting. How many of you have used Cursor over here? How many of you have used Cursor over here? A bunch of you. Okay, so for those of you who have not used Cursor, Cursor is basically like a code editor, but with AI enabled into it, right? It's not a product that is built from scratch. What these guys did was, instead of building an IDE, which is a developer interface where you can actually just code, what they did was they actually forked VS Code. They actually used the VS Code base layer, and they basically built on top of it, and they just integrated their AI layer onto it. So it feels like a normal coding assistant. It feels like a normal coding environment where you have an AI coding assistant integrated into it. So they did not reinvent the wheel. They took something that's already robust, that's already tried and tested, that's already been built, and they sort of just added a layer on top of it, right? Same thing you can see in Perplexity. Perplexity, by the way, is not the first people to think about search. All they thought about is how to do search differently, right? The whole idea was it's tiring to go through multiple links and see which links are more genuine, etc. So why not create a tool that actually goes through all the links for you and just gets you the answer, right? If you want to search on Google or any kind of a search tool, and if you have a question, what you want is really the answer. You don't want a bunch of research options. And that was the whole thesis behind Perplexity. And Perplexity is one of the biggest wrappers that actually exist. A lot of people shit on wrappers, but Perplexity is a wrapper, right? It's a GPT wrapper ultimately. But the thing is, they started out as a wrapper and ultimately evolved into something else, right? Right now, they have their own search index. They have their own custom LLMs where they've fine-tuned it using the data that they've gotten from multiple users who are using their product. So again, this is something that is not built from scratch. It is something that is built from something existing. Finally, there is something called as Chatbase. You can check it out. It's called chatbase.co. Chatbase.co is basically a website that does AI agents for customer support, right? So it's a plug and play AI agent solution where if you have a customer support thing that you need for your business, no matter what business you're running, it can basically run it for you. It was started by one guy. There was no sales team. This guy basically vibe coded this app, and there was no VCs as well, right? And currently it's at 6 million ARR. The app basically makes $500,000 every month, right? Uh, One of the common things that I've seen a lot of people um, sort of do is just like shit on these kind of wrappers, but almost all the products that are over here is just a wrapper of something else. And these are actually making revenue. These are actually creating the kind of hype that normal companies do, and they are actually, what do you say, killing it out there. Now, one thing particularly that's in hype, even more than rappers, is this term called vibe coding. Uh, the thing about vibe coding is a lot of people are talking about it as if it's really going to like help build scalable apps. But I want to just debunk that myth, saying that you can build an MVP using vibe coding. You can build something that's like barely functional. But if you really want to scale it for users, you can't really use vibe coding. And a classic example of that is this guy's tweet, right? Uh, he basically starts his tweet by saying, "My SaaS was built with cursor, zero handwritten code, blah, 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 and people pay for it." And he seemed really proud of it. And if you look at the tweet over on the right side, the same guy is like, "Guys, I'm under attack. Ever since I started to share how I built my SaaS using Cursor, random things are happening, maxed out usage API keys, people bypassing subscription, creating random shit on DB, blah, 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 blah." That's the thing about using vibe coding in order to build apps. You can build a very nice project that you can maybe show at a hackathon, or maybe like 100 to 500 users can maybe use it. But if you want to do anything beyond that, you still need to understand the fundamentals of how full stack building works, right? And my whole point of showing you guys this example is not to discourage you from building stuff like this. It's to show you that no matter how easy our lives are made using these AI tools, you will still need an understanding of the fundamentals of how a product is built if you really want to scale the app into a proper company where actual users are coming and actual business is happening and actual value is being given. So the actual domain expertise that is required over here is full stack engineering. You still need to know how to build apps for scale. You still need to know how to handle these kind of edge cases that can happen, right? That these are things that AI can't really do yet. Maybe it can do like in a few years, but I don't think it can do it yet. So the fundamental knowledge of understanding full stack, the fundamental knowledge of engineering itself still remains relevant. I don't think this is something that is going to go obsolete anytime soon. You can build a lot of things, you can automate a lot of things, but ultimately you need to know what you're building. You need to know how to really grow it, how to scale it. And for that, the knowledge of these fundamentals is extremely, extremely important, right? That being said, one thing that I would like to actually highlight over here is this common thread that you're actually seeing. If you saw these three examples over here, Cursor, Perplexity, and Chatbase, it's not doing anything that's never been done before. It's just doing the same things much, much faster, right? What it's basically doing is it's taking a task that involves significant amount of rote work, right? Something that a person or a team of people could do, and it is just automating that part of automating that part. One thing that remains interesting, which is the most important common thread, is the third line that I've written over here, right? These are not new ideas. What Cursor, Perplexity, and Chatbase really succeeded on is actually building great user interfaces and great user experiences. Can someone tell me what I mean by that in the chat quickly? What do you think I mean by what do you think I mean when I say that what they really succeeded in is building great user interfaces and user experiences? Clean front end. No, that's not the one. Performance. No. The product is the moat. Yeah, I mean, that's a high level way of looking at it. Great experience, easy to use, sure. Interactivity and ease of use. Bridging non-tech with tech, okay. Convenience, I like convenience actually. Simplification, accessibility, experience, easy to navigate. I'll tell you what I mean by this, right? It basically, so every time a person who does a particular kind of job function wants to use AI for something, what they're ultimately trying to do is to get a good output, right? No matter what route they take, all they're trying to do is to basically get a good output, right? Now, the thing is, there is one way of doing it where you yourself stitch together the tools, you yourself fine tune the models, you yourself give the right kind of prompt with all the kind of details, etc. That's one way to do it. Or you can have somebody build that out for you, build that whole workflow for you, and you can basically use it in a nice looking interface. What Cursor, Perplexity, and chat-based done is not something revolutionary, right? Honestly, you don't really have to pay for chat-based. You can pretty much learn how to build a customer support AI agent in about a few hours. And you can learn how to deploy it. If you are an engineer who's had a significant amount of experience, you can pretty much do it by yourself. It's got a learning curve. You need to learn a bunch of things here and there, and eventually you will basically get to the output. But it's not something that is impossible to achieve. What these guys have done is they've just put it behind an interface where you can just pay a small amount of money, where you can just describe what your needs are, and the model basically takes care of it for you, right? It's the experience that they're offering. It's the way that they've packaged the solution that makes you want to buy that product. And that is something that is common between all of these products that I've just mentioned over here. It's not really the tech that is important. It's the way they have done it. It's the interface. It's the user experience, right? They've basically put it behind a clean user interface. They've made the prompting very simple for you. Everything is basically simplified for you, right? That being said, uh, I'd like to mention three final points. After that, we're just going to have Varun on board. I'd like to just conclude with three major points of whatever I've spoken about so far. Unless you're building foundational models, AI can never be your moat. AI can never be your moat, right? What AI is a catalyst, right? It's an accelerator. It is something that increases your productivity and decreases your costs. It in itself cannot be your moat unless you are building a company like OpenAI, unless you're building a company like Midjourney, unless you're building a company like Google's Gemini, like DeepMind or something like that. The only moat that you have over here is UI and UX, right? How do you take care of the complicated workflow that happens in the backend, put it together, make whatever multiple API calls you want in the backend. But to the user, it seems like a very simple experience. To the user, it seems like something that is just intuitive, right? And that is the very simple thing that a lot of these companies have basically done. They've taken something that is not very smart. Like you won't call AI powered search as like the smartest idea, but he's made it work, right? Arvind has made it work. And all he's done is taking something like this, packaging it well, and basically putting it into a nice user experience. And to top it all, when I say that the user interface and the user experience becomes like the moat of the product, the ultimate moat is obviously the distribution that you have. And with that, I'd like to have Varun on board because I don't think there's a better person to actually talk about distribution being the ultimate moat. So can we have Varun over here? Right, Varun happened to be in our office today, so he's actually here
I
with
shaved
me.
and all today. It's been a long time. I haven't done a live in like forever. What's up? Oh, the comments are here. I can see the comments.
It's been raining, man. It's been raining. How's it going?
Good, good. How's it going for you?
All good. I mean, it's a lovely Saturday evening. Everyone's excited. I can't believe there's like about 700 people over here. So good, productive evening.
Nice. Thank you so much for having me. And man, it's cold. Very cold.
Okay, you are someone who's actually built a bunch of AI wrappers, and you've also gotten a lot of hate for building AI wrappers as well. Like a lot of people are like, "Hey, you're just building a wrapper." I just spoke about how building wrapper is not really a bad thing, and how it is what a lot of companies like Cursor, Perplexity, etc. are done. They have done. Do you think that it is something? Would you recommend someone to actually do that still, like in today's world?
So, firstly, am I audible? Can you guys hear me? Because I think someone comment said I'm not audible. Can we increase Varun's volume, please? Can you guys do that? Is this recording? Yeah? Okay. Okay, cool. Awesome. Man, today Y Combinator put out a post, okay, where they said that, they're now looking at new business models. They're calling it full stack, where they're saying instead of using AI to sort of charge $10 for a product or whatever, what if you made an entire business around it? What if you said, let's say you're building a great audio calling solution with AI, whatever. They said, instead of you saying, here's a tool, pay $10, pay $20, here's API, here's SDK, what if you could just build an entire business around it and say that, listen, you can outsource your calling needs to us. We'll handle everything. We'll do the entire process of hiring people. We'll do the entire process of building the software, backfill people when the software fails, and sort of just give the customer an end-to-end service where like we can do these many number of calls a month. And I think what we have done at EOS is kind of like that, right? Where sure, in the beginning, we said, here are some products, here's Alpha CTR to do thumbnails. But now we're like, we'll offer thumbnails as a small, like, which is very heavily AI generated at this point. Can we offer it as a small part of a bigger solution, which is, can we do YouTube end to end for people? Right? So it's almost like that's the full stack service. And then like, okay, can AI automate a little bit of editing? Can AI automate a little bit of B-roll? Can AI automate thumbnails? That's how we started thinking about it. And that you can charge like a services business, no?
Yeah.
So people call it outcome as a service. Some people call it, full stack companies. I just call it EOS, the EOS playbook, right? And EOS playbook goes even further. We're like, we'll make our own talent. We'll use AV. We'll build our own school for video editors. We'll hire those same video editors. We'll train them on the AI tools. We'll give them the AI tools. We'll build some of the AI tools. Put it all together. But to the client, it's, hey, we do content for you. They don't care whether you use AI or not. Like somebody hiring people or a team to do calling services doesn't care how much AI you use in the backend. They just want, they have a problem. They want the problem solved. And I think this model where you're charging $10, $20 is annoying because sometimes I put in my card, like with Suno AI, I put in my card. Then 3 months later, I forgot my card was there. And I was just like, I went and canceled because I'm like, dude, it's just, I've left my card on it. And we have also done that model, right? Where we have with God in a Box or Alpha CTR or even AutoCode Pro, we said, put in your card, we'll bill you, here's $9, $10 a month. And I think that's kind of an old model.
Would you say that that actually works for products? Because we just spoke about Cursor, we just spoke about Perplexity, and what they've essentially done is
charge a price.
Charge a price, but what they've done is make the interface simple.
Yeah, I'll tell you the problem. The problem with Cursor and Perplexity is they're very, very large businesses, right? By valuation, they're billions of dollars of businesses. For every Perplexity and Cursor, there would have been 10,000, maybe 100,000 people who tried and failed, right? So I feel the full stack model is slightly lower risk. It doesn't mean you don't build technology, but you don't charge for that technology as you would charge for a SaaS solution, right? You would charge for it based on, I have this technology, it's custom technology, it's our own technology, and I have these people, and I'm offering you the end-to-end solution. It looks like an agency, but behind the scenes, you have far more margins than a regular agency. A regular agency would run on 10, 20% margin. EOS would run on many, many times that, right?
Because of AI.
Because of AI, because of generative AI. That allows us to do this bootstrap. Otherwise, we'd have to raise money, right? To scale as much as we've scaled, we're 300 employees now. So to scale as much as we've scaled, I don't think it would have been possible without generative behind the scenes.
So you've done EOS, which is like, there's a YouTube agency where a lot of AI is used. There's a generative AI consultancy where like pretty much everything is basically run on AI.
Yeah. And even that is content focused.
Right. If you were to start something else, and if you were to give like top 3 ideas or top 4 ideas on what kind of, so you're pretty much someone who's centered around service agencies right now.
Yeah.
What are the 3 to 4 opportunities that you see that people can actually build on and it is untapped?
So if you're talking about this full stack model, this model that we're talking about where you're using technology in the back end, you're probably building it custom, but you're using it for yourself. I can tell you 3 ideas off the top of my head. One idea is this call center thing, right? Instead of you saying, here's a new solution which does, audio to audio, where someone calls, you're responding, there's an LLM sitting behind the scene, maybe it's a small model, and then real time you're doing audio gen. Instead of that, just use 11 Labs, okay, or whatever equivalent you want. There are a bunch of good ones as well. India has one. The Sarvam Bulbul model also seems interesting. Use one of those. You have a bunch of people who understand what script to go through, etc., etc. You combine the two, which is to say that when you go to a client, you say, listen, I'm not offering you the model. I'm offering you this combination of people in the model. The model will do 90% of the work, but if the model fails, the person will always be there to press a button, dial into the call. If there's an emergency, or if the model is completely gone astray, and it'll be the same voice, right? And we know how to do this, right? Like I can make you talk to an audio version of Varun, and if the audio model is completely gone off track and spewing nonsense, I press a button, or before it goes off that, or the query is just too hard to pick up, press a button, real Varun steps in. And because it's both recorded in the same area, the audio should sound as close to possible, where the end caller on the other side seamlessly does not know whether it's AI Varun or real Varun chatting with him. That's a good model. Another model is, I think, a lot of very specific company-specific fine-tuning work. So most people don't know this. You'll probably know this in a couple of days. Please keep it a secret. How many people are online right now? There's 781 people. Please keep this secret. I did a podcast with the CEO of Adobe.
Okay.
The main CEO.
Right.
Not the India CEO. So the pod will come out in like a few days. And we were speaking about this, right? This idea of, how can the services company really exist when using tools like Adobe? One idea he said was that look at Coca-Cola. If you look at Coca-Cola, Adobe is now working on generating custom versions of Firefly for them with their old Coca-Cola assets.
Right.
Right. So you're like, hey, I want to generate an ad that look like my 1971 ad.
It's like a model as a service.
Yeah, it's a model as a service, right? But still, Coca-Cola probably is such a large company. Let's say the India unit wants to generate something, right? Like generate a creative. If you as an agency worked with Coca-Cola across the board and said, listen, I have a specific model made specifically for Coca-Cola. Here are the outputs. And I'm the custodian of that model. Then man, Coke is never going to leave you, no?
Yeah.
As a customer.
Yeah, if they like the outputs, they'll stay.
Correct. And somehow you'll have to negotiate the model like being with you as well. And it's okay with the model being with you because they know ultimately it's just going to generate images, right? With someone with a pirated model outside will be able to generate. So we trust you as the custodian of the brand. That is interesting. Another, so you could, like, I totally think graphic design agencies should be back right now. If you make a tool like Alpha CTR, and the reason we pivoted away from that, we still use, the tools behind the scenes. But the reason we pivoted away from that is think about the math. Max, you'll charge the user $6, $10. How many people are putting out YouTube videos at scale? How many people really need that many thumbnails? You do the math.
Not a lot of creators who would be willing to shell money for a thumbnail. Like
Forget about money. How often do they do it? Like most creators, if they're doing shorts, they're doing 0 thumbnails.
Yeah.
Right? It's not necessary for shorts. Maybe once a month, like they're creating a long form video because you create more long form videos because you're a content, you have content DNA. And it's a serious thing for you. For them, it's not serious. For them, it's like they're just trying. So max, okay, 1,000 people. That's $9,000 a month. Bro, you could build a company, the same amount of money for the entirety of YouTube, and then have that be a small piece where you use a tool. And companies are chill with that because they're not looking at are you using the tool or not. They're like, are you getting me views on YouTube or Instagram? So it's that. Another idea I think I can get behind is, this is one that I'm personally excited about for anybody who's willing to do this, is I think there's a business case to be made for motion capture.
Okay.
Right. This on the EOS game side, we have Rohan who runs it. And we've been thinking very deeply about motion capture, which is if you have 3-4 cameras, sort of getting what you're doing, can you ask frame by frame for GPT or any of the other models to generate what the skeleton pose should look like? Because if you have that, you can sort of import it into game.
Right.
And that avoids the need for like expensive motion capture suits.
So instead of actually shooting, you just ask GPT to generate like some 50, 100 frames or something.
Yeah, either that, like you say, okay, not GPT, you start with VO or whatever, or you record real life footage and you ask GPT to predict what the frames would be like. right? In a skeleton, in a distinct skeleton. So I think that's also interesting. I think ultimately we are limited now by ideas. You don't know which idea someone will build and suddenly become big.
Yeah.
Right. But I think the idea, the way of working of Perplexity or Cursor, like Perplexity, we don't know how well it's doing now because now it has competition. Like I don't use Perplexity as much now that OpenAI can do deep research and all. I know you have changed that behavior. I know a bunch of other people have gone back to
It's come as a native feature on GPT itself.
Correct. So it's very risky. Sure, they have a huge valuation, but then it's a risky game, right? Like valuations don't mean that you have that money. It means potentially one day you'll be worth that much, right? It's not real, whatever. It's VC game.
So ultimately, it kind of still remains what you've said, what you have been saying like since the last 1 or 2 years, which is products is extremely risky. So just stick to like package services that you can actually sell where you can only.
It's not that products are risky. It's that services will make you far more money, right? The risk with product is, let's say you get 1,000 users and they're paying you $9 a month. That's $9,000 a month. That's about 100K a year. It's very low for the amount of effort you would have put in.
Sure.
I mean, you risk reward.
Yeah. So, I mean, the only way it would work is if you had like 100,000 users or 1 million users, etc.
Correct. And let's say you had a product which was able to get to 1 million users. Then, man, there'll be 50 competitors who go raise money. They'll all raise, 30, 40 million. Then suddenly you have to raise just to stay alive. That's the price to play, not the price to win. So I just think.
And it becomes like a social media game where you're just buying users.
Yeah, you're buying users. So 90%, even if you raise money, 90% of that spend will go in marketing. I feel like that AI avatar I have on Instagram, every brand now that builds an AI product, whether they survive or not, they'll spend with us.
Right. Yeah.
Right? It's almost like, and we have no competition in that. I mean, I have no competition in that space because I'm just like, who else is, sort of talking about AI tools like that, except maybe you guys, but you guys do this. But it's just, you find unorthodox ways to monetize. So and I feel there's so much alpha building on top of the existing models because I don't know if there's any value building the next foundational model. Like I've been vocal about this. I gotten belted for it, but I'm like, where is the commercial value in this?
Yeah.
If we found there was a commercial value in this, we would have put the team together, right? We would have raised the money, like what we've done with games. I know like 60% of the piece of the puzzle. But there's so many other parts, new parts that have come out. You can always hire people. You can always raise money and hire people for the parts that you're not so confident about yourself. With games, we were able to bootstrap it because it's cheaper, right? And now EOS has done well, so we have the money. But the AI model is just, it's very expensive for most people to do it. It's saturated. There are enough and more AI models out there, both for text as well as for video, as well as for audio. So I just believe, what are the interesting use cases on top? And can you go niche? Can you do something in real estate? Can you brand it as a real estate only thing? Can you do something for cameras, right? Like you'll take camera footage. Like, can you make a plugin for Premiere Pro where I show you an image and you're able to pull out the LUT from that and give me the LUT? Right? Shit like that. Like, I think there's so many cool ideas, building small plugins or building on top of existing tools and products and this thing, which everyone wants to be really cool. So they want to build like the next Perplexity Cursor. But I feel like the next Perplexity Cursor, if you build it, it'll be built from a place where you look uncool in the short term.
Right. So it's a trade-off between that.
Yeah.
I mean, we use a lot of AI internally at 100x, and we do a lot of things to automate a lot of things internally as well. But surprisingly, we've increased our team size. Last year, we were at 15. Right now, we're at about 25, 30. What's been that like for you? You use a lot of it yourself in your teams as well.
I mean, it's the thing, right? Like, the AI has increased our profit margin, right? Like, we would have a very low profit margin without AI. With AI, we have a very high profit margin. So because of AI, because of that profit margin, I'm like, let's do more things. Right? Let's just run more experiments. And also one thing, I've been running companies for 10 years. Lots haven't worked out. Some have worked. And I just feel like once you run companies for 10 years, you don't care about failure success. Like, I just want to try.
Right.
So we are trying like an infinite number of things at this point. Like, EOS at any given point of time will be trying like 50 things, out of which you'll know 3 or 4 because they're public and they're successful or whatever. The rest, nobody really knows. It's still in experimental phase. We'll try it like for 6 months. If it fails, we'll kill it. Kill your darlings.
Essentially, you've been like, you've basically just been expanding your team in order to try out new things that actually work out.
Yeah. And every new model is an opportunity. I'll give you an example. Look at Hunyaun 2.5D.
Okay.
2.5. It's a new 3D model by Tencent, and it's great. It gets the normal detail of the meshes pretty well. We think there's so many opportunities on top of that, right? There's a huge 3D printing opportunity on top of that, right? Look at the Move AI, the mocap stuff. You can also use it for life sciences, right? So you can also use it for someone's getting rehabilitated out of a disease or whatever. Like, okay, what is the posture like? Are they sitting correctly? Are they, eating correctly? Are they doing a deadlift correctly? So there's just so many opportunities, and we don't know what is going to be good, what is going to be bad. Like today, Luma put out Reframe, which is the ability to have a small chunk of a video and then it'll outpaint the video. But typically outpainting was static. You can Midjourney outpaint a static image. So if I'm sitting here and you want to extend these, you can do it easily. But what if it was moving? What if the camera was moving? Now with Reframe, you can sort of have moving video where the background is automatically filled with people or whatever it is that was already there in the scene, and they'll also be moving. They won't be static.
Right.
So many opportunities, right? Like to go take on all old films, like 50 films, convert them into wider screen. There's just so many opportunities, and I feel we are dry on ideas, right? We're not dry on implementation of these ideas, and nobody knows which of these ideas will make money, which won't make money, and neither do we. So we try 50 things at once, and we'll see which of those pick up. Like I'll give you one example, right? We invested in a company called Headshot, which is a gaming controller company.
Yeah.
And one of the ideas that I had when I saw the company was that, look, they're taking mobile games and they're saying if you have a mobile game and there's a controller layout on the game, this is a controller device, you attach it to the mobile and you can play. I'm like, is every game mapped? Are the controls of every game mapped? They're like, no, lots of games are not mapped because they're not built for a controller to be used, because mobile is like on screen, this thing, right? I was like, well, what if you fed an image of this to GPT and just said, bro, guess the controller layout?
Okay.
And then auto-mapped it, which surprisingly worked.
Nice.
So it's just, I look at a problem and I'm like, well, what parts can be GPT-fied, or what parts can you add 11 labs into, or what part can you use an avatar in? It's like we have these 50 tricks, right? And most of the talent at labs, the experimental division here, is from you guys, right? So whatever the hell you guys are teaching them, I'm like, can you guys, this new thing that I'm investing on, this new thing that I'm doing, can you guys use all the tricks and see what is useful in this?
Right.
And that's it. But ideas are still the limiting factor. You need a good idea, because if you don't have a good idea, then how do you actually implement?
Right. When it comes to so everybody in your team right now uses AI quite extensively. This is probably been, you have a team of, how big is your team?
300 people.
But how many people do you directly interact with?
My core team is maybe 20 people, maybe 25 people.
How did you really go about inculcating this culture of using AI in your daily lives, and how did you get these people to actually use it together? How did they really adopt it? Because that's one of the biggest problems. I have conversations with a bunch of people who run companies, and they always say that, hey, people are interested in it, but nobody knows where to get started from. Nobody knows how to adopt it and use it in their daily life. So how can a company really inculcate that within their culture?
I think it's going to be driven either top down or bottom up. Right? Okay. Either it's driven through fear or shame.
Okay, can you elaborate?
So either the CEO says you use this or you're going to get fired. That's fear. Right?
We've been seeing a lot of that.
Yeah. Either use this or you get fired. That's fear. Shame is, let's say you are watching this webinar and you decide, okay, I'm going to start using this tool from tomorrow, whatever tool that is. And you say, okay, this tool is great. Now I'm going to start using it at work. And you start using it at work and you get like a lot of performance benefits. Okay. Then you look at the guy next to you and be like, who?
Right.
Why are you not using this? And now if both of you start using it, there'll be a new guy that joins. Now let's say you're a clan, a group of people using an AI tool. New guy has joined. And then he's using things the old way. All of you look towards him at the same time and be like, who? That's shame. So either it's driven bottom up or top down.
I think it's going to be more top down first than bottom up sort of coming in.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because there'll be like a huge upskilling gap if you do like bottom up.
Yeah, but CEOs are really busy. And sometimes they are like, in our company, we need to stay on top of the AI tools
Yeah.
for us to improve our margins. So it's kind of like my thing, right? And I make content around it. But I don't think the average CEO knows what new tools are there.
Correct.
He or she doesn't even know what's possible, right? So if you don't know what's possible, how can you drive fear? You only get fear, like all the media companies got fear after we started using the avatars when it got to scale, right? But if they were sitting on top of the avatars and the CEO was a guy who was using an avatar for his content, he would then push that down his team, right? So it's a very top-down thing, or it's a bottom-up thing. Like if the entire team has started using it, then as a CEO, you're like, great. It's that.
Right. I mean, I've rarely seen it happen like a bunch of people come and do it. And then, I mean, it's pretty similar to the scenario that you said, where there's one guy who actually studies it and sort of becomes good at it, and then, climbs up the rank, and then other people see it and they get a little bit of FOMO, and then they sort of do it.
I think that's happening.
Yeah.
People are climbing
I
because
think
of
that's
AI,
happening. Yeah.
but it's so new that it takes some time for the climb also to happen. Maybe a couple of years, 3 years.
Not really. We actually have a bunch of students from the cohort who've actually been able to do that climbing within like months. Like we had a grad party recently, and one of the cohort students came and said that, hey, I just got like a promotion last month, because I started doing this and I started learning new experiments and stuff like that. So I think if your company is like a little more open to taking those kind of decisions or risks in order to actually try out these kind of experiments where AI can become a part of the process, I think it can be pretty fast.
Yeah. I think Sam said this best, right? Like when I did that pod with Sam, he said that ultimately, if you're a guy or a girl in a company which is lagging behind, which is not using these tools, you're putting your career at the mercy of that company. And the company is anyway going to fall behind because the company is not going to do well if they're not adopting AI. So you are jeopardizing your own career. Maybe it is worth doing or exploring a career switch if you feel like your company doesn't use AI. Because even if it looks like they're doing really well now, in 2 years they might not do as well because competitors will come who use AI who have better margins. The better your margin, the more you can invest in R&D, and the more you can, you just have a much better culture, right? Because you're not penny scrounging. Like all the people in our company are paid pretty well, right? Way above market. And the reason is because we're more profitable as a company. So AI will do that for other companies. They'll have better talent retention. They'll have better everything. So your talent will move to that company because that company has more profit pool to be able to hire you, right? So is that?
We have a lot of productivity improvements coming because of how AI coding assistants have become good. Like a lot of companies have started reporting that X% of the code written in our company is completely AI generated. Firstly, I want to know how much percent of the code you guys write at labs is actually AI generated. And I also want to know, is this something, how far would you really take that? Like how much of code would you really write using AI? And where is an engineer still needed in the loop? Like how important are the fundamentals still?
So dude, the fundamentals are still very important. We have maybe 25, 30 engineers at labs. To be very honest, I don't know what percentage of the code is manually written and how much is AI. And the reason is because sometimes AI will write code, you'll probably modify it a little bit, right? So it still requires human intervention. And would you consider that now human written code or AI written code because the person has gone and changed a little bit? I do believe though that it is shifting. Like last year, it was much harder to do some of the things we did.
Yeah.
Right. Also, the tech has gotten better. Like when clients come to us and say, hey, we like when Amazon Prime came to us, we worked with a company called MBCS that got Amazon Prime as a customer, where we did the Mirzapur season 3 campaign. We said we'll deepfake you in the video, in the trailer. And by the way, there's a huge market in that, right? Like we didn't realize just how much of a market there is in deepfaking people into a trailer. Massive. It's like several tens of crores per year, right? So we did that with Mirzapur. We deepfaked you into the trailer where you can be next to the main guy or whatever, Guddu Bhaiya or whatever. So that campaign 2 years ago would have been very hard, right? Because some of the tools weren't great. Now it's much easier to implement, right? And we did a WhatsApp flow for this campaign. So you put up a picture of yourself on WhatsApp because WhatsApp has high shareability. So when the output comes, you'll share it. It's much easier now. So not just has the tooling gotten better, right? If you want to do a calling solution now, it's much easier to do it today than 2 years ago, where every call sounded robotic. Now you have much better ones. So customers are happy, right? Not because we have done anything genius, but because the underlying tech has gotten better. And also the fact that because now APIs and SDKs have started appearing for a lot of the common tasks we do, we write less code, right? So it's not just AI, it's also tooling has improved.
Right. Okay, let's take a few questions from the chat. So if you guys have any questions, just drop them in the Q&A section. Don't drop them in the chat, drop them in the Q&A section. There's this button called Q&A. Just drop them over there. Okay, how should an aspiring founder think about learning AI and implementing AI? Is it too late for 40-plus-year-olds to join the AI race? What should they be worried about?
I think this is the best time for an aspiring founder to be using AI. See, you have to look at what we did with EOS, and I think this is kind of similar to how a lot of technologies, like companies, or a lot of companies grow, right? Which is you look at an inflection point. Everything from some of our B-roll, if you look at my short form content, to the avatars, to even some of the ways you edit a podcast, you'd use a tool like Autopod and stuff like that, didn't exist 5 years ago. So these are all new technologies. So building on an inflection point on new technologies gives you an unfair advantage because a lot of people are looking for this solution and you're probably one of the few people providing it. Whereas take an old opportunity, any old opportunity, right? Like a real estate, like I want to do construction for a building. Like thousands of people you can choose from.
Yeah.
Right. But anyone who does AI plus content in India, how many people do you really know that you can choose from? This is the reason we have grown, right? Because it's like you fit into this niche that very few, there are no competitors at this or very few small competitors. We were very early. 2.5 years ago, we were still there. And now that the market has grown and people realize this is the best way to do content with an AI first approach or generative AI first approach, we get all the deal flow.
Right.
Yeah. So what are the opportunities now that AI is recently enabled where the max number of competitors are 2 or 3? Right. So that's why it's useful for aspiring founders. In terms of implementing AI, my recommendation actually, I mean, this is kind of what I do is I just hire from your cohort. That's the easiest way because at least the kind of money we have now, it's become affordable for us to hire like 4 or 5 people, just to experiment. Is it too late for 40-year-olds to join the AI race? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think being 40 is like super, right? Like because you don't have the wisdom. I mean, you might not have as much energy as a 20-year-old, but you have wisdom that they don't have.
Correct.
A 20-year-old is stuck in status games, right? I need to build a product exactly like social media, the social network,
I want to look cool in front of my friends.
I want to look cool in front of my 10 friends. Social network, the movie is my inspiration. I want to be exactly like that. I want to be exactly like Andre Karpathy. I want to be exactly like Elon Musk. It's like 5 templates that they want to fit into. But as a 40-year-old, everyone's different and every new success is going to look very different from the last success. So as a 40-year-old, you have the wisdom of not needing to fit in. So you can build whatever you want.
Right. Can you please elaborate more on the first idea of customer support agency?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. Let's say you are an internet provider, you're Airtel or something. Okay, now Airtel gets a lot of calls per day where 90% of the calls are abusing.
Sure.
Because they're calling and they're like, you did this, the internet, or whatever. The person on the other end is going to repeat 3 or 4 steps only, no?
Sure.
Right? The steps are either first tell the
dial
customer.
This number or something like that.
No. Forget about dial this number. You dial the number, let's say. The person on the other end says, first restart your router. So you try that. Then the person says, go to speed test, get what is the number. Okay, some number will come. Then the person will be like, okay, sir, I think it's an issue on your end. Please solve it using these steps. So give some prescription. Now, it's still not solved. The person says, okay, now, cool. It's not solved. Some line issue, line error. I'll check my database. Check the database. They have a backend which shows them which areas are online, which areas are offline. Okay, the database says you're offline here. There's some problem. Okay, I'll deploy a support engineer. And that's an automated ticket they put on their own platform where they deploy an engineer. Bro, this entire process can be replaced with AI.
Yeah.
Including the process of when the guy says, okay, I'm getting 500 Mbps download speed, the AI can literally say, okay, the guy said 500 Mbps, put this in a, store this somewhere.
Right.
AI can already do that. You can already do function calling and send that data back if you know what you're looking for. Even deploying the person, you can just be like, okay, how many support engineers are here? Okay, deploy the first guy. Okay, the first guy is currently on a project, deploy the second guy. AI can already do all of this.
I think
without if else.
I think one thing that everyone over here might have experienced is apps like Swiggy and Zomato have already done this in a huge way, wherein if my order is taking too long to be delivered or if my package is torn or something, I'm not talking to a human first. Only if I'm unsatisfied with the response of the bot do I really get assigned a human. So I think these guys have already gone through a huge downsizing of their customer support team and have adopted solutions like you're saying right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a big business. And I think my disagreement is that I don't think it's a product business. I think it's a services business.
Right.
Because you need to go in, you need to understand what's a call like. Like there's so much requirements gathering in this business, right?
Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, I'm going to be the customer support rep for 2 days and figure out what all kind of calls can happen. I need to look at tens of thousands of old call logs. I need to figure out, well, what are the problems that can happen if a support person goes there and makes a mistake.
Mhm.
Like in Zomato, they're so granular that if, a bike stops for more than 2 minutes
Mhm.
in any place at a signal, the average signal in that city, let's say, lasts 1.5 minutes. I'm just coming up with hypothetical numbers.
Right.
Then there's a problem if the bike stopped for 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is way more than signal time. The guy's taken a break, the guy's got into an accident, something. If it's 5 minutes, definitely a problem. So all of this, you need to go and understand first before you tell the AI to use a particular flow.
Right. Is there a curriculum that you would recommend for leaderships in large companies?
I'm biased here, but I think
your biased answer would be us. But what's your unbiased answer?
No, my unbiased answer is that the problem is leadership at big companies don't have time, right? You can look at my leadership here. They don't have time unless I go to them and tell them, check out these 3 tools.
Yeah.
They just don't have time because they're doing like 5 things at once. There's pressure. We don't have like hard targets, but everyone sets targets by themselves. And there is pressure if they don't meet the targets that they have on their own sort of schedule. They are also like, at the end of the day, you have cognitive fatigue at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody needs to set the tone and be like, sit, I'll teach you and show you everything that's changed.
Mhm.
And one thing I know about you guys, which we see in the hiring, is that you sort of in the last 1 year, your curriculum has also evolved.
Mhm.
Right? It's
Yeah.
not last year's curriculum that you're sort of putting. It's like
We
up to
actually
date.
evolve it every 3 weeks.
Every 3 weeks. Yeah, expected, right? Because if you don't, then it's kind of useless. So, so it's like I want people who are up to date till today, not up to date for what happened a year ago, right? And it is very overwhelming. There are new tools, new processes. In fact, I think leadership should care more about what tools there are and what you can do with the tool. What's the scope of things you can potentially do with this, rather than I'm going to go and use RAG and with LLMs and sort of build a solution by myself.
Because
right?
no one really cares about what's in the back.
No one cares about what's in the back. Like, you're using it to solve a problem, right? So I think users of AI will do much better than builders on top of AI,
Mhm.
although both are important, right? Like if you're building a full company, then you need to do both parts. But that's my thesis at least.
Right. All right, let's look for 2 to 3 more questions and then we'll move on to the next section. We are an AI company, Series A, building voice agents. How do we position, create excitement / visibility to attract engineering talent?
I think attracting engineering talent today would happen on Twitter.
Right.
I mean,
you need a personal brand for that.
You need a personal brand, yeah. Like you need to be a personal brand on Twitter and you need to be doing exciting stuff. You need to be showing some of the output of what your work is. That's how you hire good engineering talent. That's what I would do at least.
Right. So ultimately, it's play the content game and build distribution.
Dude, distribution is just like my big learning is that all my life I was seeing it the other way around. I thought products were important and people will just come and distribution is like an afterthought.
Right.
But if you have distribution, then you can build any product you want. Maybe it's also gotten easier because of the last couple of years, not just because of AI. It's getting easier to build technology in general, right? You want an authentication system. You want to, it's simple. You want a payment gateway. Today you can just add in Stripe or Razorpay. When I started JobSpire, which was in 2015 or 2014, bro, you had to work with the bank to sort of put a payment gateway in your platform. So it's
Right.
a painful era. It's just gotten easier now.
Okay, we have this one person just spamming this question. Is it worth to learn AI as early as 15? I feel a lot of FOMO. My friends who are much older, who are like 25, 26, they earn pretty good. So I'm confused. If I build a company in the next 5 years or end of 5 years, will it be really worth it to learn right now? I think the short answer is yes.
See, the short answer is learn AI. The long answer is I don't think as a 15-year-old you should be thinking that far in terms of my friends are 25, 26, they're making this much money, because as a 15-year-old, why do you care? Just experiment, just learn, and just understand that by the time you get to 25, the world is going to be different. There are going to be new things around, and it's better to just be a person who is capable of relearning new things.
As a leader in performance marketing and content generation company, can you help me understand what should I do to pivot into AI services?
Find a problem statement that's uncluttered. I think content problem statement now is starting to get cluttered. I still think there's an opportunity if you start like within the next year. But in a couple of years, it's going to be like really slow. Like it's going to be really hard to break through. But there's so many other problems outside of content. Any problem that has text, audio, video, AI can sort of solve.
Yeah.
Right? Calling is one of those use cases. Delivery is one of those use cases. Like I'm talking about, customer support on delivery, like the Swiggy Zomato problem statement. Just hundreds of problem statements, right? Which you just need to be very excited about the problem statement.
All right, let's take two more questions from the chat. And I think, Varun, you have to go after that, right?
Yeah.
How do I, this is a fundamental question. How do I identify the areas that can be automated in my business?
Every area can be automated. There is not a single thing that cannot be automated, right? I've automated my content. My short form content is totally automated.
Yeah.
I've automated a bunch of tasks that I would do, like sometimes I have to send my bank statements to one person in my finance team. All of that is automated. A lot of the thought process for what ideas we need on the next videos are automated. My hiring emails is some new tool that we've started using in the team. I'll get the name of the tool, but if I remember right, it's called Kovi or Kova or something like that, some weird name like that, which automatically sends messages to potential people you want to hire. Like all of it is just as much automation as possible. It's possible, even in editing, B-rolls, this, that, like there's so much, right? So there's nothing that you cannot automate. You can automate everything.
Okay. Last question. Last question. What are your thoughts on vertical SaaS in today's age?
I think I've already answered that one, which is, I believe, more in the full stack model of doing services and having your own SaaS tool in the back. But let's take a different problem actually. Hold on. Hold on. Yeah, so let's take Jyoti's question. How much market do you think deep research has, excluding market research companies? I was talking to somebody the other day, which is there's a company in India called Traction, which does research on companies. What they do is they amalgamate data from news, from MCA revenue data, put it all together and give you like a holistic report of a company. Dude, I think that can be automated. Traction is IPO'd company, by the way.
Business intelligence, basically.
Business intelligence. I want to know, how's this company doing?
Right.
Find all the data, find all the YouTube videos about them, put everything together with deep research and say, this is what the company is. A 2-page report of the company. Right?
Yeah, that can become a one-click tool.
Yeah, and you should probably do this with public companies because people invest in them, right? So they need this data every day.
Yeah, and their data is like public.
Yeah, so just do deep research on every company that's on the stock market right now. Prepare a report, update that report every 2 months, and make that as a service, right? That you can actually do as SaaS.
Yeah.
Right, where you can be like, 100 rupees a month to your inbox, I'll deliver reports of all companies every day, every week.
I mean, if you really look at it, like the pro subscription of like a Perplexity or a Cursor is still like SaaS at some level.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, and I really hope we are able to continue to hire good people from your cohort.
Yeah.
I always come here to say hi so that when you guys decide to join somewhere, you selfishly come here, but make sure you learn enough and come here. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing this, Varun. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. That was Varun, basically. That was Varun. Thank you so much. I hope, I mean, this was not a session wherein, we had a lot of slides to show, wherein we had a lot of these, packed stuff and all that. But the thing is, when you talk to someone like Varun, a lot of insights, just come up when you have a random conversation rather than, it being like prepared and stuff like that. So I hope you had your pen and paper with you. I hope you actually jotted down some insights. I hope this was actually useful. That's pretty much the main part of what we're going to talk about today. Also, while actually looking for the questions for Varun to answer, for Varun to answer, I saw like so many questions asking about what kind of a cohort we do. Varun spoke about the cohort a little bit as well. In fact, like about 50 to 60% of his team that he hires for his generative AI service company is actually from our cohort. And we also place people at a lot of other companies, etc. And most of the students who are a part of our cohort are actually founders. Founders and people who want to integrate AI into their daily lives or into their companies. So I'll just spend the next 15 minutes talking about the cohort. So if you guys are interested in listening to what the cohort is about, what are the sessions going to be like, who is it for, etc., etc., please do stay back, and I'll just give you a quick overview of what we basically do over here at 100x. Before that, can you guys get the charger from my bag? My laptop is like kind of dying. All right, just give me like not 5 minutes, just like 1 minute. Yeah, thank you. All right, awesome. I'm just gonna share my screen over here. All right, how many of you guys actually want to know about the cohort? Can you guys tell me a quick yes in the chat so that I know how many of you really want this? Oh, wow. Quite a lot of people. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll do a quick Q&A. I mean, Varun had to leave. Varun just dropped in by the office today for a while. He does this like once every quarter. Varun, by the way, is an investor here at 100x, which is why he said he's a little biased when he talks about us. But yeah, I will definitely be taking a lot of other unanswered questions towards the end of it, be it about the cohort or be it about the session that we had today. So if I missed your session, if I missed your question, I'm so sorry. But let's actually get into it. All right. Let's go. I'm just going to share my screen now. One sec. All right, here we go. Cool. So we at 100x primarily do two things, right? We are an AI literacy and education company. We do a lot of free stuff. That's what we do most of the time. We put out like AI news, AI content on Instagram. We do that on YouTube. We have lengthy tutorials on YouTube. We have podcasts with some very interesting people. We just put out a podcast with the vice president of Asia Pacific at Google. We just did that yesterday. We had put out another podcast with the guy who created the internet and his thoughts on how AI is going to shape, because he's already seen one round of a revolutionary technology and he's actually built it. So do go check those out. I think you'll get some valuable insights from there as well. But one of the other things that we do as a deeper form of engagement is a 6-month-long applied AI mastery cohort. This is something that we do exclusively for, so the average age group of a person who's actually taking this cohort is 31 to 32. Right. So we mostly have experienced people. We mostly have like people who are like slightly older, slightly later in the stages of their career. I would say they're in the prime of their careers. They've actually come to a position where they can actually make decisions and they actually want to affect change in their companies. So the average age is like slightly more than, your average cohort where you would actually find students. We do have students in our cohort as well, but that's about 20 to 25%. The rest of them are like working professionals. I'm not going to go through these slides. I just want to talk a little bit about main things about our cohort. All right, why GenAI with 100x? Cool. One thing that I want to get out of the way and make it absolutely clear is we are not a chat GPT course where we teach you prompt engineering and stuff like that. I mean, sure, prompt engineering is important, but I feel what is more important is domain expertise, right? That's why a person who has 10 years of experience will benefit and will know how to use AI much more than someone who's like, early in the stages of their career. So I think this is something that a lot of people who are experienced professionals can actually make something out of, rather than people who are like very, very early in their careers. Not to say that it's not going to be beneficial, it's just going to be more beneficial, right? The curriculum that we have is very up to date. Like I said earlier, we do an update every 3 weeks because something new comes out, and then we just have to sort of modify the curriculum a little bit. What we started out with like a year ago and what it is right now, I think the curriculum has changed about 40 to 50% in the last 1 year. A lot of the things that we teach are very fundamental stuff, so they don't really change. And one thing that I always maintain is that what we really teach in the cohort is the fundamental of engineering rather than the AI layer of it, right? What I mean by this is the tools will keep coming and going, right? Today you will use Cursor, tomorrow something better than Cursor will come up, right? So what we really focus on is not really the tools that are coming out there. These tools are used as mediums. What we really teach about is AI thinking. How to really think about integrating AI in your product. How to really think about using these workflows. How to really think about building these workflows, right? So what we really focus on in these 6 months is building that fundamental intuitive understanding of AI thinking, so that it sort of becomes like a lifelong skill for you, right? It's like opening up a new dimension within you, a new way of thinking, right? Instead of thinking in a certain way, you have a new way of thinking right now. So we do this using a lot of tools. We have a lot of project-based learning and stuff like that. But the fundamental of what we teach is AI thinking. And that's what we intend to inculcate along these things, so that once you spend 6 months with us, you can pretty much do everything you want on your own, right? That's where we want you guys to actually be. We have 2 separate tracks in the cohort. We have an entrepreneurship track, and we have a employment track. So regardless of what you want to basically come for, you can get that particular thing. So we have a track exclusively for founders where we, break down YC pitches, where we tell you how to build a pitch deck, et cetera, and how to really go about building, products, et cetera. And we have another track for job seekers. Also, you don't need any coding experience for this because we have 2 pathways in the cohort. Just like we had the founders track and the employment track, we have a code track and we have a no code track, right? So you can make a combination of these and you can sort of, put it into 4 quadrants. You can have a founder no code, or you can have a founder code, or you can have an employment no code or an employment code, right? Depends on what is your level of comfort, basically. A lot of people who join our cohorts are people who work in product. So these are like product managers, VP levels. We have like a bunch of CTOs, full stack engineers, DevOps engineers, QA folks, AI ML engineers, etc. And also people who come from a primarily business level where they sort of just want to get an understanding and they want to get their hands dirty on what this is all about, what they can do with it in their companies, etc., etc. This is like the details of the cohort at a glance. So we have lectures on Fridays and Saturdays. Since the people who are our students, they are in their 30s and 40s, we have to make our schedules more friendlier for them. So we've come up with timings like these. So Fridays and Saturdays, 6 p.m. is usually when the lectures are at. These lectures are obviously recorded. So even if you miss one particular day for whatever reason, let's say you were traveling, let's say you had a family engagement or something like that, you can just come back and watch it. We have 2 sessions each week. These lectures last for about 2 hours and these are completely live. I teach for the first 2 months in the cohort and my co-founder and CTO, Siddhan, teaches for the remaining 4 months. This is very founder-led. Like we ourselves do the teaching bit as well. It's not like we've hired, instructors to do that work for us. We do have instructors who partner with us and do it. But primarily, it's pretty much led by the 100x team, right? And that's one of the reasons why we do it so well. The only thing that we do here at 100x as an offering, as a product, is basically this AI cohort. And we're very particular about the quality of the cohort, and we don't want to dilute it, which is why we haven't started like some 10 offerings or 10 courses. One is a 2-week course, one is a 4-week course. We didn't want to do any of that. We wanted to have one solid offering, create some really good success stories from that particular solid offering, and just sort of, run the business like that. So we're very particular about that. This cohort starts on the 27th of June. It's 24 weeks. You need about 8 to 12 hours of weekly commitment, unlike the 10 to 12 hours mentioned over here. And one thing that is included in the cohort fee is the GPU credits that you get. So it doesn't matter what kind of system you have. You can have a basic ass laptop. All you need is a good internet connection, and using that internet connection, you will be able to access the GPU credits. So we give you access to cloud-based GPUs. These are GPUs that are on some server in some country, and you get credits of that. And using those GPU credits, you can use it for your AI workloads. Like you can fine-tune models, you can run models, etc., etc. And you will be given enough credits for your 6-month duration so that you can actually complete all the exercises, you can practice, you can do whatever you want. And this is a cost that is included in the fee of the cohort. This is not something that we charge extra for. So whatever the fee of the cohort is, there's no extra cost or anything like that. It comes pretty much baked in. Some people say that the cohort is slightly expensive for them, and we understand where you're coming from. But one of the biggest reasons why it is slightly higher on the pricing is mainly because of the GPU credits that we actually give you. GPU credits are not cheap, and it comes baked within the price of the cohort. We have professionals from a lot of these companies. One of the things that we actually take a lot of pride in terms of our cohort is the community that we've been able to foster. I would say, don't come for the curriculum, come for each other, because where else can you find 150 people who are passionate about building and upskilling in AI together? We have people from some of the top companies in the world. We've had folks from Microsoft, from Meta, from Amazon, from Apple, a lot more companies that you actually see over here. So we've had, I think the network effect that you find in our cohort is a pretty solid network, right? You find people who are actually serious about this. And you also find people who are in the later stages of their career who've gotten to a position of influence and power. So you get to have quite influential people in the community itself, and it's an opportunity for you to connect with these people, right? I think one of the strongest things about the cohort, even more than the content and the teaching that we do, is the community. I think if you have to come for this cohort, definitely come for each other, right? Come for the content, but also come for each other. That's one of the strongest things that we have in the cohort. Yeah. These are just a bunch of testimonials that we have from the cohort. Yeah, so the next cohort starts on the 27th of June. I'll just get to the pricing, but okay, this is something that is more relevant for people who are looking for employment. But I think since a lot of people over here are founders and senior executives, I don't think this is very relevant for you guys. Talking about the curriculum is divided into 4 major parts. We start off with diffusion. Diffusion is basically talking about image models. We talk about how to fine tune and work with image models, video models, etc., and how to really build products using these models. Then we get into a full stack model where we teach you the fundamentals of full stack and a little bit of AI assisted coding. We have this both for the code track as well as for the non-code track. After that, we basically get into the LLM workflows. We get into LLMs, we get into agents, we teach you RAG, vector databases, fine-tuning these LLMs, etc. And it's basically, this part pretty much goes on for 4 months. So we start with diffusion, get into LLMs and full stack, and end with agents, right? So these are the 3 primary parts. Now, one question that I get a lot is, hey, I only want to learn about one particular thing. The thing is, I think it's definitely going to be useful if you learn about everything as well. Like one of the things that I keep telling people is the cohort that we have is a very holistic cohort. Even if you don't think that something would be beneficial for you, just trust me, stick to it. It will benefit you quite a lot. And I think a lot of our students who have done the cohort earlier would actually agree to this, where they would actually be like, what I learned was actually helpful, even though I didn't think that it would be helpful for me. If you want an unbiased view of what really happens in the cohort, we have something called hashtag 0 to 100x engineer challenge. This is a challenge that if you are a student at 100x, you will embark on from day one, where you have to build in public, where you show people what you're learning in public. So if you go to Twitter or LinkedIn, and if you just type this hashtag, you will see the stuff that people have built while being a part of this cohort, right? And this is stuff that they are posting from their own account. So this is very unbiased. It doesn't have our tonality or anything like that. It's just them showing what they've built. So do check this out. The current price of the cohort is about 1.18 lakhs. This is in Indian rupees. This, by the way, is the early bird price. We have a separate early bird price and we have a separate regular price as well. If you go to the website, the only price you'll be able to find is the regular price, which is 1.5 lakhs, about 1.49 roughly. This price basically comes for the entirety of the 6 months. You'll have about 24 to 30 lectures with a lot of other sessions as well. We have these sessions called 100x labs, where we call people from the industry, and we have, like chit chat sessions like the one that we had with Varun, which are insightful, and you can sort of take down your notes. And this happens across like multiple domains. We have these things called as office hours, where you will be assigned to certain mentors depending on what track and what path you have chosen. And this mentor basically helps you throughout the week. So office hours happen like twice on the weekdays, and you can just ping them whenever you want. So you'll get like mentorship assistance as well. And it also obviously comes with the GPU credits, right? There's nothing you need to sort of pay above it. For international students, it's Stripe. For Indian students, you guys can just directly pay using Razorpay. And we also have no-cost EMIs and loans for folks who want to sort of schedule the payment over a course of 6 to 12 months or whatever it is. That being said, if you would like to be a part of this cohort, and if you want, let's say that you have some questions and you want to know more about it, and you want to talk to someone from our team, you can just scan this QR code and just type, I want to join or I want to enroll, and someone from our team will basically get in touch with you and they'll basically give you a call. You might get a call tonight, you might get a call tomorrow. If you're busy, you can just let them know and they'll call you tomorrow, whatever it is. That's not a problem. But yeah, you can just scan this code. If you're keen on knowing more about this, if you're keen on enrolling, do join us. We have a batch starting on the 27th of June, which is about a month from now. The early bird deadline is actually closing in right now. So the price that you see over here, that's not going to remain for a long time. So that's going to be closing quite soon. So just letting you guys know about it. All right. Thanks, guys. I will just take questions right now. If you want me to take your question, just let me know in the Q&A section. Also, I know that most of you over here are founders and senior execs, but I had seen a bunch of questions from students. We do have a discount for students. So if you just show us your ID or something, you can get a discounted price over here as well. All right, let's do Q&A. Can I level up if I follow just the curriculum? You can. You can absolutely level up. But the thing is, we haven't put out the detailed curriculum anywhere. It'll take you a while. You can very well do that. It's just that when you do it the problem is when you learn something for 6 months, the problem is not getting the content. The problem is accountability. You just tend to give up if you do it on your own. But if you do it with like 100 other people, it's just much more fun, right? And that's the reason why this cohort even exists. All right, let me just take some questions from the chat. All right. As I'm a student, it's not possible for me to pay such an amount. Fair. I want to join as an intern at 100x Engineers. What's the criteria for this? Man, unfortunately, we don't take interns. Everyone who works at 100x is a full-time employee. So you'll probably have to come back with that. What do you mean we build AI products? Do we end up doing this individually or as teams? You do it as both. So there are individual projects, there's also team projects. As a student, how relevant can this cohort be for someone of my age? I'm also interested for masters. Man, I would say that um, I would say it's obviously relevant because we do update our curriculum every 3 weeks. So we are pretty much the only people who actually do such an updated curriculum right now. Obviously, I sound biased while saying this, but I really don't know anyone else who actually has a curriculum like ours. So in terms of relevance, yeah, pretty much a short answer would be yes. All right. As a solo founder, how can I build distribution in a consistent manner? Will a cohort help? Short answer is no. This cohort will not help you build distribution. For that, you will have to you'll have to honestly, man, if you want to build distribution, just post every day. Just be consistent, right? That's the number one advice. Uh, you might want to take a content creation workshop, but we don't teach that in this cohort. Um, what kind of AI applications will be built during the cohort? You'll have one application on diffusion models. You'll have two to three projects on diffusion models. So some things that our students have built is an interior design generator where you can just click a picture of a room, you put it into an LLM and it designs it for you, right? ChatGPT can currently do it. So this is something that has been automated in a sort of a way, but it doesn't get a lot of the smaller details, right? So how do you do it perfectly? We also get into a little bit of filmmaking. We also talk about building chatbots. We talk about fine tuning your models and making like conversational AI bots. We talk about deep research. So a lot of projects around these concepts. All right. What is the process to hire from 100x cohorts? If you want to hire from 100x cohorts, Rufat, can you just type the email in the chat to hire? Just write to hire from 100x cohort, email at this email. Just send it to everyone. Yeah, so someone from my team will basically just send an email. Just write whatever requirements you have, and if we can find you someone that actually meets those requirements, we'll take it forward. I'm a product manager and I struggle to stay updated with AI. Will your cohort help me? 100%. 100%. Yeah, I can say this pretty confidently. It will definitely help you stay updated and much more than that. Not just stay updated, but also use these things on a daily basis. I'm a senior exec and I really want to build an AI application, but I can't find the right way to start from. Can the cohort help me start? Yes, it can. It can definitely help you start. We have a lot of people who have come with similar problems where they don't. The biggest problem, no, I mean, you're right, right? A lot of people are like, hey, there's too much noise. I don't know where to start from, right? And yes, the short answer is this cohort will definitely help you find the signal from the noise. It will definitely help you find the areas. It's not going to happen instantly. It'll take you 2 to 3 months to really get an understanding of, okay, this is where I should start from. So you should have the patience for sure, and also have the consistency to show up for every lecture. But yeah, it can definitely help you kickstart that journey. We've had so many people who have kickstarted that journey. We've had the student called Muskan who actually ended up building an agent app called Agent Prod. Ended up raising a little bit of funding from NVIDIA. We've had like a bunch of success stories where students have started agencies and they're successfully running it. So the starting problem will definitely be solved. I don't know tech. Can I learn in 6 months completely? We have a no code track. I mean, see, the thing is, if you don't know anything in tech, it's definitely going to be more challenging for you to do this. So that means that you will have to put in a little more effort than normally someone who knows tech would have. So I think it's more of a question that you need to ask yourself where you're like, hey, do I have the tenacity to do this for the next 6 months? Right? I have a good laptop. Is there an option to not go for GPU credits? Man, I don't think any laptop is good enough to skip the GPU credits. I don't think any laptop is good enough to skip through GPU credits. As you change the curriculum on a lesson that has already been taught, do we get an update to go in and figure it out? Great question. Yes, you do. So you have access to the next 2 to 3 cohorts that we do. If you purchase one cohort, you get access to the next 2 to 3 cohorts. You can't sit in these cohorts live, but you'll get access to the recorded videos. So you'll know what has changed. Apart from the 4 hours every week that would have the live sessions, how many hours approximately during the week would one need to be able to put in towards the cohort? Good question. I think anywhere between uh, in the starting weeks, it will be less, but I think peak would be about 8 to 12 hours. So around 10 hours a week. So a good way to think about it is like an hour, hour and a half every day. That is the amount of time you'll have to put if you really want to extract all the value. If you just want to get by, you can still put like half an hour to 1 hour and do it. But if you really want to extract the value, an hour and a half a day. All right. Is it more theoretical or practical? It's very practical, man. It's very practical. Like so practical that it's basically me screen sharing and showing you how to do stuff. Does the cohort help me understand and stay on top of open source LLMs? Again, great question. We have an extensive focus on open source technology in this cohort because a lot of the models that you can fine tune and you can play around with are the open source models. You can't really touch the proprietary models too much. So we have a very high and deep amount of focus on open source models. Um, All right. I'm a management professional. I have zero coding experience. I see the module has building full stack API, full stack AI apps, and many more which require coding knowledge. Yes. Do you have separate line of module or extra sessions to catch up, or how do you think how would you work out with people with no coding knowledge? Good question. So we have a code track and a no code track. With the no code track, you will still be building full stack applications, but you will be doing it using no code tools with good UIs, right? So you would be using tools like Bubble, etc., in order to actually do that. And we do have some prep videos to give you some basic full stack knowledge enough to actually make you build the like the only point of full stack is so that whatever you build in AI you can package it, right? That's the only point. The goal is not to teach you full stack engineering. The full stack is only necessary for you to package the application, right? So honestly, even if you're not good at it, it's not a problem because that's not the main focus of the cohort. But if you don't know how to code, we do have a no code track where we do these things in a no code way. Mm, mm. Okay, I'm gonna take like 2 to 3 more questions. I mean, I see a lot of questions. I'm sorry if you haven't answered it. I tried answering most of the questions. If you still have a question and if you're interested in enrolling, you can just scan this QR code and say, I want to join or I want to enroll, and someone from our team will be able to help you on a phone call. But I'll take like 2 to 3 questions more. Uh, how much knowledge do I need in the code track? You need to know Python. You need to know Python. You need to know basics of full stack. That's the knowledge that we expect in the code track. I don't work on images and videos. How will your cohort help me in using business application data and solve business problems using AI? Man, images and videos are only 6 weeks in the cohort. We have another 20 weeks in the cohort that is nothing to do with images and videos. So a lot of it is just focused on solving these problems. And if you take the entrepreneurship track, we have sessions that are catered mainly towards solving business problems and using AI. Like in the cohort, we break down a lot of case studies, right? One of the ways you actually learn how to solve business problems is by looking at how other people used it to solve problems. And when you look at 20 people who've solved problems using AI, one of them might just hit you and be like, oh, this is something I can use in my company, right? So our job is to expose you to all the ways people have used to solve problems, be it in images, be it in videos, be it in LLMs, be it in agents, whatever it is. And it's up to you to really choose what you want out of it. How do you ensure the cohort quality? That is the competency of people joining, like if they are truly serious. That's a great question, man. I think the length of the cohort solves that problem in itself. Because I'll tell you something. If somebody is not serious, they will not come to the cohort for 6 months. If somebody is serious, 6 months, by the way, is a huge commitment. It's half a year, right? So if somebody is serious, they will come for the 6 months. Like we don't need to nudge them. We don't, I mean, we do give like reminders and stuff like that, but they don't really need us to do anything, right? So I think the duration of the cohort kind of solves that problem in itself, right? So the people who there are some people who are not really that serious who end up coming to the cohort, but eventually they just don't stick around, right? So the people who are left in the cohort, who are active in the cohort, are only the ones who are actually serious. Okay, last question. Last question. Last question. By the way, I have a bunch of people asking about the curriculum. If you really want to know the curriculum in detail, I'll show you something. Okay, all you need to do is go to 100xengineers.com. Just scroll all the way down. Okay, my laptop is lagging for some reason. Okay, yeah, you have the curriculum over here. You can just click on these buttons and you can basically take a look at the curriculum. All right. Cool, guys. I think I've answered most of the questions over here. If you have any more questions or if you want to learn more about the cohort, just click on just scan the QR code, say, I want to enroll, and someone from our team will give you a call. That being said, I hope this was a productive session for you. Thank you so much for staying here for the entirety of the session. I hope this was useful for you. I hope you got some interesting insights from Varun. My name is Shridev. I'll hopefully see you in the cohort. Bye.